Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Wednesday, back in front of the bookcases. Thought I'd go back to this, kind of dig it. Wednesday evening actually, it's kind of nice. Kathy's down in Orlando, so I'm hanging out here at the home, just enjoying some time myself. It's a recovery week for me. What's that mean? Recovery week for me means it's a week where instead of training hard and really pushing and really going after it, I ride easy. I soft pedal a lot. I do shorter rides. I don't do any sprint intervals or lactate threshold intervals or anything like that. I just keep it easy. And while it may seem a little random that I'm telling you this, it actually has to do with what I want to talk about today, whenever you see this. And that is, what I want to talk about is this idea of let us run the race with endurance. One of the things that's really interesting is when you train for an endurance event, it turns out that you train and you train and you train, and there's this sense that, okay, I go out and I do some really hard training interval. I go out and I do some really, monster ride, 2 hours as hard as I can go, power meter pegged out at the highest I can get it, whatever. That's not actually when you get better, okay? You teach your body that, hey, I need to be able to go that hard, but your body's pretty much set wherever it's going to be when you're going hard. When you get better is when you rest. During the week, if you don't sleep enough, if you don't take recovery days where you don't go soft, which I do twice a week, normally in a training week. If you don't do those things, not only do you not get better, you actually get worse. You actually cause your body to not be as efficient. And then once every 3 or 4 weeks, you got to take a whole week and just rest. And that's what your body really actually sits down and says, okay, wait a minute, what you just did was really hard. And if I don't do something to get better, the next time you need to do that, I might not be able to do it. So I'll get better. I'll, replumb some of the blood vessels, or I'll make your lungs a little bigger, or I'll learn to coordinate those muscle fibers a little bit, or whatever your body does. It's when you rest when you get better. And that's really important in our Christian walk and our Christian lives. If we want to run the race with endurance, it's not pedal to the metal, 24/7, 365. People who do that last, for a certain amount of time, and then they blow up. They pop. This is what we call it in cycling. You pop. Your body or your brain or your spirituality gives out. And these are people, you'll sit there, be on fire for God, and all of a sudden, just everything comes off the rails. Pretty soon, they're negative about people, and they become really judgmental, and they kind of set themselves up on some spiritual high horse. Those are people usually that are very, very exhausted. They haven't given themselves time to rest. And so what I would like to kind of bring out is that not even God went 24/7, 365. There's this beautiful passage, and you're all familiar with it, I'm sure, but if you're not, it's the second chapter of the book of Genesis, and it reads, "Thus the heavens and the earth were completed in all of their vast arrays." I love that. All of their vast arrays. They're complete. Everything's completed. By the seventh day, God had finished the work that he had been doing. And so on the seventh day, he rested from all of his work. And God blessed the seventh day, and he set it apart. He made it holy, because on it he rested from all of the work of creating that he had done. And the author and speaker, Brian McLaren, talks about this. And he says, and I'm not sure I totally agree with him, but I think he makes a good point. The ultimate event of creation is rest. The ultimate event of all of this incredible creation, which seems to be culminating in the creation of humanity and the inviting of humanity into the work of creating, which actually that's the second creation story. Chapter 2 is where humans, Adam is invited into the work of creation. Is this beautiful moment, this ultimate moment that the creation is in a sense completed or topped off through the resting and appreciation of God's work. And it's very good. Always it's very good in the first chapter. In the second chapter, not always very good, very interesting. But in this first creation account, it's always very good. And it is in that completion, in that very goodness, that God is able to rest. And so I think it's really important that we understand that in running the race of endurance, or with endurance, that we build in time to rest. Now, God's done that for us. God says, hey, there's this day, I call it the Sabbath. It was made for you. It was to give you a chance to recreate, to recreate yourselves. And that's a beautiful thing. You think about recreation. True recreation is actually recreation, okay? And one of the things that I think a lot of people have that's a problem in their way of looking at God is they have their life with God and then their life in some other way. And so if I go hiking, it's somehow different with how I, live my life with God. I'm not in the worship environment. I am not with my community. So if I go and hiking, it's somehow disassociated with God. And that's only something that happens after the fall. If you think about it, when Adam went and tended the garden, when he worked in the garden, he worked in the act of creation in the garden. That was his communion with God. And so when we choose on a day, one day every 7, to recreate, to recreate, we are actually coming back in our rest to be with God. Now, that time of rest can be a lot of things, but it's from the work that we do. So it can go out, and your recreation can be going to the lake, can be reading a book, can be hiking through the beautiful woods. It's something in which you participate. And that's where I think it's distinguished, by the way, from entertainment, where you go and you just passively receive. Recreation is where you actively participate in God's work of creation by recreating yourself, by reconnecting yourself with the creation. Okay? And so I think it's really important. It's that time where you spend with your family and reconnecting with your relationships with family. It is your time when you spend reconnecting with yourself. The brokenness that we have within ourselves, and we take time to recreate within that, it's this really beautiful time. And God says that if you want to run this race, if you want to every single day walk and grow closer to me and complete this course with all of these great clouds of witness, growing towards Christ, you've got to take that time. You have to. We know that Christ, over and over and over again, it's talked about in the Gospel of Mark, he leaves the crowds. He goes up on a mountain for time of prayer, for time of meditation, for reflection. He gathers his disciples away from their work and he says, let me give you a time of rest. Because that's important. That's so valuable. And in our world today, where we're pushed over and over and over, go, go, go. Do this, accomplish that. If you're sitting around and you're being quiet, and you're being silent, and you're listening to your heart, then you're wasting time. That's in a way, I think it's the devil's way, the adversary's way of getting us to run ourselves down to where then we become judgmental, we become harsh, we become ungraceful. We don't see the true beauty of God's creation, our true beauty within God's creation, because we're too tired, we're too exhausted. When you're tired and you're exhausted, nothing's beautiful, nothing's lovely, nothing has any grace in it. And so we must take time to do that. We must take the time to slow down, to recreate, to come back and reconnect the relationships with God, with ourselves, with the creation, with each other, if we want to run this race. So anyway, time's up. I got to get going. So, hey, I hope you're all doing great. I hope you have a great week. We're moving closer towards school, so for those of you coming back, look forward. Check out the GCF site on Facebook. We've put some stuff up there for you to get some information about what we're looking at doing for next semester. So until next week, hope you're doing good, and keep running, all right? Until then, till next time, grace, peace, abide.